Good evening and welcome to Head On RKO Radio with me, Jake. And that was Joy Division to get us started with the track Dead Souls. I've actually been meaning to start off the show with that track for a long time. I've been thinking it would be perfect to really start the show with. Obviously, I'm playing that one because this week we had the 40th anniversary of the death of Ian Curtis. So I thought as a tribute it would be about time to play that song, right timing to pay tribute to Ian Curtis, of course. Just an absolute legend of and so influential, and I just really think that song Dead Souls is just an extraordinary piece of music. It just builds and builds. It's just so intense, and I always thought I just remember when I used to DJ in Edinburgh in clubs, just play Dead Souls and the place just went absolutely crazy. Just for me, just an absolutely amazing piece of music, and I think a bit underrated actually, if I'm honest. Everyone talks about Love Will Tear Us Apart, Atmosphere, Transmission, Disorder, which of course are all genius pieces of music too, but for me Dead Souls needs a bit more recognition. I think it's arguably their best song. I mean, maybe not my favourite, but I would say musically and just the way it sounds, I think just about their best song. So rest in peace Ian Curtis, and as I say, just thought their best song, like Dead Souls, which is actually, you could say the same about a lot of their best songs, the ones I mentioned before, Transmission, Atmosphere, Love Will Tear Us Apart, Ice Age. They were never on the albums, they were just standalone singles. And obviously the albums are great too, but I mean, if you got any copy of a Best of Joy Division or whatever, you would hardly any of the songs were actually on the albums. But anyway, great track to get started there, Dead Souls by Joy Division. Now we have, in a similar Joy Division sort of style, Die Unbekannten with Radio War. So that was Radio War by Die Unbekannten from 1981. They were actually based in Germany, but I was called Mark Reeder, and I think he was from Manchester. And I remember hearing that on an old DVD I had called Berlin Super 8, and it had a couple of Die Unbekannten songs. It was Radio War, the song I just played, Don't Tell Me Stories and Perfect Love, and Just absolutely brilliant. Like I say, in that kind of Joy Division kind of mould, but yeah, just absolutely amazing. And the album Don't Tell Me Stories that track is on, it was released years later, and it's just absolutely brilliant. So worth checking out there from Germany, Die Unbekannten. And next we are going to Italy, 1982, Boss Man by Steel Mind. So that was Steel Mind with the track Boss Man from 1982 from Italy, an Italo disco classic, that one. Again, just a really great one that just builds and builds. And Steel Mind, actually a bit of a rarity when it comes to Italo disco. We've not got one good track, we've got two. Usually Italo disco just full of one-hit wonders. We make one incredible piece of music and you never hear from them again. But they have Boss Man, they also have... what was the other one called? Bad Passion, which was really the track that got me into Italo disco. And I think it was one actually my brother that used to play Bad Passion by Steel Mind, and that just really got me hooked on Italo disco and that sound. But then later on, many years later, I discovered that track Boss Man, also by Steel Mind, an absolutely brilliant track. Okay, moving on, 1980, Echo and the Bunnymen with Villiers Terrace. So that was Villiers Terrace by Echo and the Bunnymen from a 1980 album Crocodiles. A really great track, that one. Quite repetitive, the lyrics. And I have to admit, I'm not the biggest Echo and the Bunnymen fan, if I'm really honest. A few great tracks, including that one, The Cutter, as well. But yeah, I like that album over Crocodiles from 1980. So it's a good album and a bit more different, a bit more sparse sounding. It became a bit more overblown for my liking a bit later, but still some great tracks. Okay, so 1984 now, we have Blind Vision by Blancmange.
And no reason visions and no reasons for actions. In a dream, when I'm reading pages full of words, the harder you look, it's getting hard, it's not. A dream's a dream, in a dream, when I'm reading pages full of words, it's getting hard, it's not, it's getting hard, it's getting harder, ooh, it's getting hard. That's blind vision. Push me harder now, harder, push me harder. That's blind hell. Keep me spinning around and round. The blind center. Now I'm turning miles above the ground. That's blind hell.
So that was Blancmange with the track Blind Vision from 1984, an absolutely brilliant piece of music. And I've got to hold my hands up, I had never even, well maybe I had, but I was not really aware of that track at all until I moved to Bari and started going to Cafe Nero and hanging out there with Arca. And he would always play this track by Blancmange. And I was like, wow, what is this? It just sounds brilliant. And he told me it was Blancmange, and I already knew Blancmange, obviously living on the ceiling. I've been playing that in DJ sets for years. Also the instrumental version of Feel Me as well. Two amazing tracks that I played for years, but I never actually really delved much deeper than that. And yeah, I think Blind Vision, it's definitely up there with those two tracks. An absolutely genius piece of music, and definitely one I'm going to steal from Marco, I think, and play out in DJ sets myself soon. Okay, so we're now back to 1980 with The Specials and Rat Race.
Tomorrow
So that was Rat Race by The Specials from 1980, and I play that because today is the 65th birthday of Jerry Dammers of The Specials. Pretty much he was The Specials, many people say, which has been doing a bit of a disservice to the rest of the band, but yeah, just an absolute great guy, Jerry Dammers, and I think that track, Rat Race, it wasn't actually on the album More Specials, it was another standalone single. I think it was just before the second album came out, the underrated second album, which doesn't get as much credit as it deserves as the first one. And I think Rat Race is just about my favourite Special song, actually. It was kind of described as a critique on, I think it was Jerry Dammers or Horace Panter, I can't remember who, but they described it as a critique on how privileged students would spend 3 years pissing it up in college, knowing full well that daddy would get them a good job when they left, no matter what their qualifications were. And I think that's pretty much still going on today, you could say. Look at the UK and Boris Johnson. It's incredible that it doesn't matter what you know, it's who you know. If your daddy has the right connections, you will go very far in life. Sadly, still the case in the UK today, but to be honest, it doesn't surprise me anymore. Anything in the UK, I could say. Sadly. Okay, moving on. Now back to 1978. Reckless Eric and Take the Cash. So it's Take the Cash by Reckless Eric from 1978 and his album The Wonderful World of Reckless Eric, which also featured his cover of Dizzy and also Whole Wide World, maybe, I don't remember now, but a few good tracks on that album. On the legendary Stiff Records, and I always love Take the Cash. I think it's an absolutely brilliant single. Not a massive fan of that sound, that kind of more pub rock kind of thing, but I think Take the Cash is an absolutely fantastic single, so great to play that one. And now we're going to 2008 with Tame Impala, Half Full Glass of Wine.
So long.
So it's Half Full Glass of Wine by Tame Impala from 2008 and their self-titled debut EP. Tame Impala from Australia, of course. Absolutely huge now, I think. I mean, it's so popular. I mean, I don't know an awful lot about them. I like a few songs. Half Full Glass of Wine, which I just played, is brilliant. Also, the track Elephant is really good. But they just went absolutely huge. And you listen to some of their stuff, it's a weird mix. It's a bit Beatles-esque, a bit psyche, a bit glam sounding. There's a bit of glam stomp in a lot of their stuff. But that's a really great one to play, that Half Full Glass of Wine by Tame Impala. And next we are going to 1964 with The Pretty Things. So it was Rosalind by The Pretty Things from 1964, and I'm playing that one because obviously we had the death, actually last Friday, just too late to record onto the show, but the death of Phil May, the singer of The Pretty Things, who died at the age of 75. And a band I don't know an awful lot about, I have to admit, but I remember hearing that song, Rosalind. I don't remember where I heard it actually, but I always thought it was a great track. And it's got a real Bo Diddley sound to it. That guitar is very Bo Diddley-esque, and also the drumming is quite Bo Diddley, and it's got a real stomp to it, a real groove to it. And I just think it's absolutely brilliant. In 1964, it's actually quite early, I think. I think I would associate that, because the 60s were moving so fast, I would actually associate that with it being about more 1966, 67, which doesn't sound like a big difference, but in the 60s, everything, as I say, was just moving so fast. So that 2-year difference does make a big difference, I think. So yeah, brilliant track there from The Pretty Things. And now we're going to 1980 again. We seem to have a lot of songs from 1980 tonight. And Young Marble Giants with Cakewalking. So that was Cakewalking by Young Marble Giants from a 1980 album Colossal Youth. Their only studio album, actually. Only one album, but incredibly influential, Young Marble Giants. Obviously a big influence on Kurt Cobain and also on Hole, who actually ended up covering Credit in the Straight World from the album on their brilliant 1994 album Live Through This. A fantastic album, that whole album. And I mean, you can actually hear that influence if you look at if you take that, even that song, Cakewalking, take any track from that whole album, strip it back, and it could practically be on that Young Marble Giants album. And I really love that album. It's post-punk, but it's actually quite almost like a relaxing, calming kind of sound. It's incredibly minimal, but some really great tracks on it. And so yeah, only one album, but really influential band, Young Marble Giants. And next we are going to 1992, PJ Harvey with Dress.
It's
So that was Dress by PJ Harvey from her 1992 album Dry. An absolutely fantastic song. And it's weird, that's actually quite an accessible, quite catchy one, which not all of her early stuff was. And I think it was more later, the turn of the century, around 2000, 2001, she actually, the sound came a bit bigger. It was a bit more bare sound, a bit more minimalistic, early PJ Harvey. But yeah, great track there. And wanting to move on quickly, we don't have a lot of time. We're going to go Von Sudenfeld, the Rhino Head.
Think about your flag. Go on, think about your flag. Go on, think about your flag. Go on, think about your flag. The rhino had a nickel necklace.
So it was The Rhino Head by Von Sudenfeld, and from a Traumatic Reflections album from 2007, featuring the unmistakable vocals of Mark E. Smith. Brilliant album, that, and could almost qualify as a Fall album. I mean, well, if it's got Marky Smith, you always say it's basically the Fall if Marky Smith is there. He's that recognisable. Okay, so thank you for listening. One more track to play. You've been listening to Head On RKO Radio. Find us at www.rkonair.com. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, Twitter, all of these things. And so, yeah, speak to you the same time next week. Been a pleasure to talk to you again. And we're going to leave you now from 1986 from Edinburgh. We have Safety Net by the Shop Assistants. Bye-bye.
Wish that we could turn around.